before the first cities. Before the first cities were traced in river mud, before kings raised boundary stones, and before scribes pressed reed styluses into clay, there was an older beginning. It did not belong to man. Human history was not the first movement of reality, but a later chapter inside a deeper order already filled with power, intention, and unseen gravity. Man did not awaken in a hollow universe. He opened his eyes inside a world already rich with meaning, already shadowed by older will, already alive with forces greater than himself. That is why mankind has never moved through the world like a simple thing. He is dust and breath, earth and mystery, capable of tenderness and violence, reverence and rebellion, beauty and ruin. This is the first key to the whole matter. Man was not born into silence. He was born into splendor and danger at once. The creature of clay. Mankind was not made as a passing ornament, nor as a beast with only a brighter mind. He was made for nearness. He was marked for calling, relation, inheritance, and ascent. He came from the ground, yet he carried within him a dignity that reached beyond the ground. This was the scandal of the clay. The creature formed from dust was loved openly by God. He was fragile, brief, newly made, and yet set apart for a nearness the older powers could see. And from that sight, the hidden fracture began. The jealousy. The turning of the world did not begin first with open thunder. It began with jealousy. The devil saw what mankind had been mocked for and could not bear it. The wound was not that man was stronger. The wound was not that man was older. The wound was that man was loved with intention. So the first war began not as destruction, but as distortion. Knowledge was bent away from trust, desire was bent away from obedience, awakening was bent away from holiness. What had been given for life was turned toward estrangement. The fall was therefore more than a single act. It was the cracking of the image. While the image remained, memory remained, but it dimmed. Longing remained, but it reached in the wrong direction. Greatness remained, but it now carried corruption within it. For sacred damage. From that first wound, every later sorrow spread out with labor. Carried it marriage, carried it power, carried it memory, carried it speech, carried it cities, carried it worship, carried it. That is why history is not merely a ledger of events. It is sacred damage unfolding through time. The human race still bears the mark of the divine, but it bears it like a cracked seal, still visible, still real, yet no longer whole. The first wound did not remain inward forever. What began in jealousy widened into company. Rebellion gathered followers, corruption moved deeper into the structures of the world. In the old Enoch witness, this widening is remembered in the descent of the Watchers. These were not the first cause of evil, but they became a second unleashing of it. They crossed their bounds, entered rebellion, took women, and spread forbidden knowledge among men. Samyaza is remembered as a leader among them. Azazel is remembered for teaching weapons, warfare, metalwork, adornment, and the corrupt arts that turn skill away from holiness. 6. The stained origin of craft. From that point, knowledge no longer appeared only as a gift that could be misused. It became organized into systems of power. Men learned to hammer metal into blades. They learned the arts of display that turned glory into vanity. They learned how beauty itself could be bent into seduction, force, fear, and domination. So civilization did not rise cleanly. It rose with splendor on its face and wrought in its foundations. Towers were raised, walls were built, courts were ordered, workshops were filled, and sacred places were adorned. But underneath the brilliance there was stain. A thing could be beautiful and still be bent. A kingdom could be mighty and still be mystery. erected a sacred place could be impressive and still be false. Skill and wisdom no longer walk together with ease. Power no longer bowed naturally to holiness. 7 giants and violence. The old stories of giants belong here as well. In the Enochic memory, the corruption of the Watchers helped produce monstrous offspring, and an age of devouring strength. Rule became predation, renown became terror. Violence swelled beyond righteousness. The mighty ones of the old world were remembered because they magnified what had gone wrong. They stood as signs that the inheritance of man had become deformed. The greatness of mankind remained, but it had become greatness wounded and turned toward destruction.